Good morning, all. Today we'll start with geometric operations on image, geometric spatial operations. Spatial is in spatial domain, not in frequency or any other domain. So basically, geometric transformations we are going to apply. So first, we should recall what is called geometric operations. It is called that geometric operations. So basically, a few operations are known as geometric operations. One of them is reflection. That means you are flipping with respect to vertical or horizontal axis. You are flipping, that is reflection. You are taking reflection with respect to one axis. So that is known as a reflection operation, which is geometric transformation. So we may need to flip our image. Already this task we have done using your for loops in your first exercise. I told you to flip the image vertically, horizontally. Right? So that operation you have done, but that is not the way to handle the issue. So we should go for the way that how we can easily do the task, right? Same with translation. Translation is shifting. You will translate your image in. You will slide your image. You will shift your image in any one direction. So that is translation operation. That means you will shift your from this coordinate to this coordinate. It is shifted. It is shifted in one direction, horizontal, vertical, or in both the axes. But it is shifted. Okay. One is dilation. Dilation operation is known as stretching or shrinking. You are stretch. This is the shape. Then you might be stretch it. You might be stretching it so that it will become like this. You are enlarging the shape or you are reducing the shape. You are shrinking the shape or you are expanding the shape. That is known as dilation operation. And one is rotation. That how to rotate the image. Rotation operation of 90-degree already you have gone through. You have seen that task that you have completed, right? But 90-degree rotation was possible for you. But what if I say that rotated by 21 degree? What if I say that rotated by say 37 degree? How will you rotate it? 30 degree once it is possible that you can think of. But if I give you some odd number, then how will you do that? And that also every time you need to think. If you remember that first exercise, it took time for you to complete it. It took time. Many of you even asked me doubted how to do that because it was taking time to understand the process that which row will go where and all everything, right? So that will be difficult every time if I want to rotate it. I will keep thinking, and that will be just image specific operation for that case, right? So again, so we want one common methodology so that we can do the task easily. So for that we are having affine transform. Affine transform method is there, or we can say there is a transform on my previous coordinates. These are my original coordinates. These are my original coordinates of my original image. But if I want, I will apply some transform on that my coordinates. That is known as affine transform, right? And which will generate either rotated or flipped or stretched or shrinked image. So the image which is rotated, or I mean any geometric transformation is applied. So T is for the affine transform. So it is having common form. So suppose x and y is my new coordinates after transformation. V and W are my old coordinates on which I want to apply the transformation. Then I will take one vector xy1, another vector vw1, and I will apply transform. What is the form of this transform? Transform is of this form, that it is 3 cross 3 matrix and having these elements where first two columns are filled with some t variable and last column is always fixed 0, 0, 1. Okay, now I will apply matrix operation on this, matrix multiplication over this, whatever result I will get. So what exactly I am having now equation is xy1 is equal to bw1 into this transformation. So now I will do this matrix transformation, and I know that its value will be 1 cross 3. That means it will give me value for x, it will give me value for y, and 1 will be always equal to 1 because of this. Right? But so I am going to use this transformation. These t values will be different for different operations. If I am changing these t values, and then it will give me scaling, it may give me shrinking, it may give me expansion, it may give me rotation. So what is my job now? That this is my affine transform. T is known as my affine transform. What is the form of this? It is having this form. And now my job is to find out what should be my T value if I want to do scaling or I want to do a rotation. What should be my value? That is my new task to find out. So first operation that comes is identity, so that we can get what we can say that used to with this operation, right? So I can show you that if I hope it is visible. What is that operation? Operation is identity. So I know what is the for if I want to do identity, what is identity? Input is equal to output. That is identity transformation. I want to do identity transformation. I don't want to do anything else. So what should be my this matrix? So what I want is x is equal to v, y is equal to w. Or earlier coordinates were v and w. Now new coordinates are x and y, but x should be equal to v, y should be equal to w, and hence it is identity one. I want x is equal to v, y is equal to w. So what should be my this coordinates? What should be the value of my this transformation t? So transformation T will have value 1, 0, 0. T1 is 1, T11 is 1, T21 is 0, T31 is 0, 1, 0, 0, T12 is 0, T22 is 0, T32 is 0, and these are already 0, 0, 1. Now apply this matrix multiplication over this. What is matrix multiplication? This element will get multiplied with 1, VW will multiply with 0, and 1 will multiply with 0, and addition of all three. So V plus 0 will result into V. Then v into 0 plus w into 1 plus 1 into 0 will result into w, and third element will be 0, 0, 1. So it will v into 0, w into 0, 1 into 0. So what is my result? My result is vw1. That is my result. And vw1 is equal to xy1. So if I will compare element wise, x will be equal to v and y will be equal to w, and 1 is always equal to 1. Okay, so this is identity transformation. So what was the purpose of this identity transformation right now? To make you understand that I am going to vary these values of T1 and T2. I mean all these T variables, and I am going to get, I will do this matrix multiplication, and whatever result will be, will change my coordinates X and Y in terms of V and W. V and W are my old coordinates. So I will get transformed image. Okay. Now we can go for the better result. So better operation we can say. So here I can show you that translation. What is translation? So translation is nothing but this is my image. First, this is my image. These are pixels of my image. Some certain image is this, right? I want to translate it on this direction. You know that this is horizontal direction in image processing we consider as y direction. Vertical direction we consider as x direction. So you know that if you will go for if you will check this the coordinate of this pixel, if you will check coordinate of this pixel, it is and this pixel I am considering about this. Okay. What about their y coordinate? Their y coordinate is same for both of them. You can see y coordinate is same, but if you will check for x coordinates, x coordinate is shifted. So now actually for so every x coordinate, so here x coordinate is shifted by how much? What is the equation of this x coordinate? I can show you that even in Zoom version, if you can see how the difference is obtained. See, this is my earlier x coordinate. Say it is 10. This is value 10. Suppose x coordinate value is 10 here. Now new x coordinate value is it is 15. New x coordinate value is 15. So now all the 10 coordinate x values now are all 15. This was 9. This is now 14. This is 8, and this is now 13. So now, what is the equation? Can you tell me now? Suppose this is V and W. Here the x and y coordinates are V and W, and here my x and y coordinates. My new translated image is having x and y. What is the relation between x, y, and VW? Plus 5 in y direction or in x direction or in both directions? Devan? What I need is, yes, in x direction. So what I need is x is equal to x plus 5, or rather I should say x is equal to v plus 5, because v is my older coordinate, and y is equal to y is equal to w. That is what my requirement is. That is what my requirement is. Same way, if you will check for if you will check for this coordinate direction, if you will check for this direction, x coordinates are as it is, y coordinates are shifted. Whatever the y coordinate was here, now it is shifted. So every y coordinate is shifted by some amount, whatever the count will be, right? So and if you will shift somewhere here, if you will shift your shape here, so x and y both coordinates will get added. So what I will have actually, what I need if I want to shift, if I want to translate, so what I need is x is equal to v plus cx. Cx or rather some constant or some I should say some Cx value. I'm just writing Cx because it is the same one equal to W plus Cy. That x and y Cx and Cy will depend on how much you want to translate. It can be zero, it can be some positive number, or it can be even negative number if you want to shift on the left hand side. So it is a constant number rather I should say. It is a number. It depend on what type of translation you want. Okay. So this is what my requirement is. So how to obtain it? So what I want is I in my x coordinate I want v as it is, but also I want some constant added. So that's why this one will help us now. So I what I want is my variable will my translation matrix will be like or my transformation will be like 10 tx here tx whatever some constant right whatever variable you want to use 10 px or tx whatever the value you want to use 01 ty or ty and 001. So now if I will do matrix multiplication what will happen v plus tx w plus ty that is what I'm going to get and this is how I'm going to get translation and tx and ty is x direction translation and y direction translation. So I hope that the matrix is also visible to you, having very low resolution. But in case any problem, if it is not visible, I can write it even. Just report me if it is not visible to you. The case is my matrix will be 10tx, 01ty, 001. Okay. So this is about translation, tx and ty direction translation. Tx and ty can be any value, positive, negative, or zero. Now scaling. Now we are going for the scaling part. Scaling is what earlier this was my shape. Scaling is what that I want to expand or shrink my coordinates. Suppose this was my original shape. Earlier this was my original shape, and then I want to make that shape like this. That is expanded shape. That outer one is expanded shape, and the inner one is what you can say that it is my original one. So if I want to expand it, what should happen to my coordinate? Observe. This is my VW and this is my XY. This is my VW. So after expansion, it should be XY. If this is my VW, after expansion, it should be my XY. VW, XY. VW, XY. Tell me what is the relation between VW and XY here? Observe and tell me if it is visible. What is the relation between VW and XY? And I hope you are clear with it. Any doubt here? Okay. So what is the relation between VW and XY? What is that? That the original shape is expanded. I want to scale it. I want to yes, I want to expand it. So what is the relation? So relation is x is older coordinate yes and yes Jainik it should be multiplied with 2 here because I have scaled with factor 2. Suppose I want to scale with factor 3 or I want to scale with some other factor, right? So any factor x if I want to scale, then what I will do, my old coordinates will get multiplied with that factor. That is what my requirement is. If it is I am scaling by factor 2, I am expanding by factor 2, then my cx or rather my what we can say my that multiplying factor should be that value. Now what if I want to shrink? What if suppose outer coordinate is given to me, I want to shrink by factor 2. Then outer is the coordinate given original one, inner is the requirement. What should be my multiplying factor if I want to shrink by factor 2? Yes, it should be 1 by 2. It should be the factor should be 1 by 2. So that is what my requirement is. Like what I want is, you can see that I want to x is equal to multiplying factor into v. So what I will do here, I will make my that whatever factor I want to use, whether it is factor itself or 1 by factor. Factor if its value is greater than 1, the factor will be for expansion. If factor value is less than 1, the factor will be for the shrinking. Okay. So that scaling, shrinking and expansion is possible by changing the coordinate values. Okay. So that Cx value will come here. So Cx into V, Cy into W, and this is S. So this, if I will change my matrix like this, it is going to give me scaling, and scaling can be expansion or shrinking. If vector is less than 1, it is shrinking, otherwise expansion. Now we are going for the rotation. We are going for the rotation. I want to rotate the image. You can see the shape here. If you, I can earlier if this was the shape, if this is the shape, I want to rotate it by this kind of shape. Here you can see this is my axis of reference. Earlier this angle was theta, and now this angle is theta 1, or I say I am rotating by a factor 5. Okay, this is my new angle. Actually, it is theta plus 5. I rotated it. I rotated it by angle 5. Earlier, this was the shape. Earlier, this was the shape. This one. Okay. And now, after rotation, this is the shape. Shape will not change. Of course, here it is the problem with my drawing here. But the case is like it is rotated by angle theta. So that if I want to, sorry, it is rotated by angle 5. Okay. So what I want here is that angle, earlier it was at the angle theta. Now it is at the angle theta plus 5. Whatever your shape was, right? Whatever your shape was. Now it is at this shape. I hope you can see the rotation here. Okay. So now what to do for that? If I want to give the rotation by angle 5, what to do? So let us think of earlier whatever the coordinate was at xy. Earlier whatever the coordinate was at xy. Now it is at the angle x dash y dash. Okay. Now how to give, if this is angle phi, if this is angle phi, what is x value? Can you give me the value of x in terms of, this is r, the length of your, that dimension or length of that side of your square is r. If this is r, if this is phi, how x is given in terms of r and phi? Yes, it is r cos theta. It is r cos theta. So my x is r cos theta. Y, you know that it is x projection, y projection, that you know, right? So x projection is my x direction, and that is r cos theta. This projection is r sin theta, that we have studied in our 12th physics, right? We know that very well. So this that direction projection is r cos theta, y direction projection is r sin theta, and x and y is given by that value. So that we know. Okay, so this we will keep in our mind. Same way, what about x dash and y dash? So x dash is nothing but r cos theta plus phi, because it is now this angle is theta plus phi. So what about x dash? X dash is r cos theta plus phi, and y dash is r sin theta plus phi. Now you know that cos theta plus phi can be expanded to this value, that cos x plus y can be expanded to cos x cos y minus sin x sin y. Same way, for the sine, x plus y can be expanded to sin x cos y plus cos x sin y. That equation, this is again the 12th mathematics, we have studied this. Okay. So so now that values are expanded, so that values are written here, and r is multiplied to both the terms. Now what about r cos theta? R cos theta is nothing but x. And what about r sin theta? R sin theta is nothing but, what you can say, r sin theta is nothing but y. Here what you will use? Here you will use r sin theta, which is y. Here r cos theta, which is x. So I am substituting those values here. So simplification will result into this. So what we can get here is x cos theta minus y sin theta. Sorry, x cos phi minus y sin phi, y cos phi plus x sin phi. Uh, then what is the now if you will see as so what is xy? What is xy actually? Xy was my old coordinate, so you can read it as like v cos phi minus w sin phi. You can read it like that, because x and y were my old coordinates. After rotation, my new coordinates are x dash y dash. So you can read it like x is equal to v cos phi minus minus w sine phi, y is equal to v cos, sorry, w cos phi plus v sine phi, right? So we are coming to this point. So what will be my uh, uh, matrix here? What should be my matrix? Matrix should be like this. My it should be my so here what I will have here I will write it like V. This should be my matrix VW1. VW1 get multiplied with this translation. So what will be that V cos theta plus plus W sin theta minus sin theta. So it will be this one, and then here it will get multiplied with V sin theta plus W cos theta. So this is how I am going to get rotation with the angle theta. I am going to get rotation of angle theta, whatever the angle is mentioned here. Here, whatever the angle was, right? Or if you want to here, what can be your matrix? Here you are getting the rotation by phi, whatever angle you will write here. So what you can do here is you can write it like x, y, x dash, y dash, 1. Here I was having x, y, 1, right? Of course, I mean the new coordinates. That is what the meaning is equal to what will be x, y, 1. That is new old coordinate multiplied with this cos phi minus sin phi. Here it will be cos phi, right? Then sin phi, and one should, I don't want to add any constant here, so I will write it like here 0. Same way my second, it will be minus. This will be minus because of this minus sign, right? So it will get multiplied with, and what will be my second column? Second column will be cos phi plus sin phi and 0. Cos phi, sin phi 0. That will be my second column, and third column will be 0, 0, 1. The same thing is shown here. Again, I hope you can understand it. So whatever the angle you are writing with cos, that much angle you are using to translate, or that much angle you are using to rotate. Okay. So I think you can understand it now. I hope you can understand. Now what was remaining here? So like suppose my theta is 0. That is earlier my theta here, my theta is 0. In this case, what is theta? Theta is my original angle. Original angle was 0. That means it was a horizontal line earlier. It was horizontal line earlier, and now I want rotation by 30 degree. That means my phi is now 30. My phi is now 30. So what will be? I want rotation by 30 degrees. So what should be my? So earlier coordinates were x10 and y5. Okay, so earlier, okay, this whatever the coordinate will be, whatever the coordinates are, what you are going to get is that means you will start, so you will start somewhere here. This is my x, there is my x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 5. So here somewhere you will have some shape. Here is x is equal to 10, y is equal to 5 somewhere here, and it is a horizontal line. So angle theta is equal to 0. That is angle with respect to horizontal line is 0. And my coordinate starts from, this coordinate starts from, my coordinate, one of the coordinate is x, what you can say, x is 10 and y is 5. Then if I want to rotate by 30 degree, what I will do, I will just use this equation. So I will make or substitute those values, and I will get these two coordinates. So now earlier my x was 10, now it should be 6. And earlier my y coordinate was 5, it should be now 9. Whatever value I will get, that if I will do, I will change it by odd coordinates. I will put, so whatever value was available at this point, if I will shift it to these coordinates, then my image will be rotated by 30 degree. Okay, so this is what they want to say here. Okay. So that I will do for entire image. I will shift all the coordinates to the new values, and I will get my rotated image. In your free time, definitely you should try. Now you are capable enough to try this new things, right? So if you want to try, you can of course try. Any doubt in this rotation part, or any doubt in any other discussion till time? Okay, now next is shear. Vertical shear, horizontal shear is there. What is shear? You will hold one direction. You will drag it, or you will shift it to in another direction. This was my original shape, and this is shear in x direction. In x direction, I hold it. I hold this coordinates, and then I drag it on this direction. You can see someone. If I will fix this region, if I will fix its base, and if I drag it on this direction, what will happen? It will look like this shape. So this is shear. So what exactly we are doing here is, now observe. I have shifted in x direction. I have stretched it in horizontal direction. I have stretched it, or I have dragged it into in the x direction. Whatever the coordinate was, y coordinate here, whatever the height was there, the same height will be here. This height of this all pixels will remain same height here. Whatever the height of this pixel is the same height, whatever the height was here, this is the shape, right? Whatever the height was here, the same height is here. Okay, so what is my point here? I am not changing my y coordinate. I have stretched it into x direction by holding this as it is. That's why my y coordinate is not changed. Only my x coordinate is changed. My y coordinate, the height of the relative height, or what you can say from this height is remaining. Y coordinate values are as it is. Y coordinate values are not changed. So I know that what I want is, in my, if my old coordinate was were v and w, new coordinates are x and y. What I want is y is equal to w. Why I want it? Because here you can see that y coordinates are not changed. What is changed? If you see it properly, what is changed? This x coordinate, earlier was here. Now this x coordinate earlier was here on this x values. You just take about x values. X values you just take about. Earlier it was here. Now this x value was here. So now what is happening? My x values are changing. So I know that I will need x is equal to some form of v. Now x and y are not equal. I want that some form of v. But now if you observe what is happening, earlier as my y coordinate increases, see for this, if you will observe y coordinate of this and y coordinate of this, which one is having higher y coordinate? So definitely this one is having higher y coordinate compared to this one. This is having higher y coordinate. Whichever is having higher y coordinate, its x shift is higher. This is having highest y coordinate compared to all these points, and its x shift in the x direction is highest. So what I want here is, what is shear procedure? Shear is, I will not change, my y coordinate value is not changed here. You observe, but my x coordinate value is changed. All the pixels are changed for the all the pixels. X coordinate values are changed, but this change in the x coordinate, change in that earlier all these pixels were here only. All the pixels were here only. Now all the pixels are having linear increment in this. Earlier all were in the same position. Now these are all having linear increment, relative linear increment with each other, and that increment varies with respect to y. As y coordinate increases, their shift in x coordinate increases. So what I want in this type of relation. You can see here. What I want is, I want my v coordinate as it is, but I want that it should be, my x coordinate should vary as my y coordinates increases. That means I want some constant here. I am writing some constant sx. Any constant you can have, right? So what I want, my x coordinate will change, y coordinate will remain same, but my how this x coordinate should change? It should vary as my y coordinate changes. Any doubt in this concept? Any doubt in this concept? Okay. So now, so that is how to obtain that. This is very easy. You can check. What I want is, I want my y coordinate as it is. So I will just keep it 1 here. I don't want to use this last addition. I don't want to use anything here. But I want first line will be like V and S, the SV or SX, whatever you want to, some coordinate here, some constant value here. So now what will be the value? V plus SV into W. V plus SV into W. And then 0. So this is how I will get two equations. Simply, if I want to shear in the y direction, then so what I want, if I will shear in the y direction, then my x coordinate will remain as it is, but my y coordinate will vary, and it will vary with respect to my x coordinate. It will vary uh, as my x coordinate varies. Okay, so for that equation will be like this. So now what is multiplication will result into V. W in so here for the y, what will be that? V into SH plus W into whatever the constant, V into that constant plus W. So my W is varying with respect with as X varies. So that will give me the shear. Okay, now see now what will happen? Like here also you can in all these operations, all these operations, what will happen? Suppose all the pixels are shifted here, right? All the pixels are shifted. The entire image will get shifted, but some void will be created when my entire image is sheared or it is rotated or it is like you are changing the coordinates like this, right? It is changing the coordinates like this. It is possible that for some of the pixel you will not get the values. For all the pixels, not necessarily you will get the values. Okay, because of rounding off, because of digitization and all those issues, we here also what will happen? Actually, the coordinate value is 6.16, but we cannot have 6.16 as coordinate. I'm going to keep it at 6 and 9. So definitely because of this type of things, because of rounding off, because of limitation of integer numbers, we will not have value for some of the pixels. Some of the pixels will be void. In this case also, if I will share, so what will happen? It is possible that I will have some void in my image. Some pixels are not filled with some value. So we have to fill them, we have to interpolate them. So for the interpolation, we can have any method. We can have three methods we have studied. What is that? Nearest neighbor method, or we can say that bilinear, bicubic. So this is filling. This here is some void is shown, and that void is filled with nearest neighbor method. This is filled with bilinear method, and the next one is filled with bicubic method. And the conclusion is that bicubic method is giving us, see, this is quite sharp. Nearest neighbor is quite sharp. And quite sharpness in this jag is, of course, is troublesome. Every time you will see that zigzag. Here it is maybe not clearly visible, but if you can observe this region, if you can observe this region, they are having some vibrations there. You can see some jagged there, some vibrations there, which we don't want. Actually, we want a smooth line here. So if the smooth line, that means some. It should not be like sharp distance. It should be feel like averages. It should be feel like some. See, you can see some gray levels and all those things, right? So it is concluded that nearest neighbor gives very sharp results, which may not be desirable because it is giving us the jaggeds on the edges. So we should go for the bilinear or bicubic. Last time we also discussed that bicubic is using more neighbors, and hence it is going to give us the better results. Okay, so that is the end of our chapter 2. This is the end of chapter 2. So that is what the conclusion is. If in case when you are doing this partial transformation and if you are not getting values for some of the pixels, then you have to interpolate them. And if you want to interpolate, then then you should go for any of the three method. And third method bicubic is going to help us more. Okay, so yesterday there was a question that if all the pixels are not available, but in scenario like this, possibly one or two pixels in intermediate are not available. Real, I think it was your question, right? So if intermediate pixels are not available, then you can use the nearest neighbor of that. Here it will not be like all the pixels are not available, right? So many of the pixels neighborhoods are available, so we can easily go for the bicubic. Now, okay, so now this is the end of chapter 2. Now we are going for chapter 5. Any doubt in chapter 2, 1, 3? We have completed 1, 2, 3, 3 chapters we have completed. Any doubt in any concept so far? Okay, so now, um, okay, so now we are going for chapter 5, and it is regarding to image restoration. This is very interesting chapter, but actually it is having some relation with chapter 4. So few things I will tell you that I will you will learn after chapter 4. Why we need to take this first? Because some laboratories are dependent on this one, and we are going to reach to them soon. So I have to take first this chapter. So few of the things, not all the things, I will tell you that we will learn later. Okay, but not all of the things. Many things you can easily understand. Many of this you have already implemented. Just we are going to give the official name to that. So the chapter is regarding to image restoration. Now first we have to understand what is image restoration. Image restoration is nothing but improving the quality of the image, which is degraded due to several phenomena. Now, improving the quality of images are our ultimate goal so far. We what is our goal till time? What we have done that we want to improve by the contrast stretching or histogram equalization or matching. What we did, we wanted to do improvement in the quality. Okay. So, so we want to improve the quality, but why we want to improve the quality? Why it is degraded? In which because in which scenario it is degraded? So possibly because of motion. You know that in motion, if you will capture the images, then they are degraded. Okay. So it is possible to some extent that we can remove that impact of motion. So we want to restore our image. That is image distortion. So what we want to do? We want to undo the effect of degradation. The degradation comes from maybe from the motion because of improper focus. I think all of you experience this. If it is improper focus in image camera that you capture the image and it is not focused, it is quite degraded image, right? So if you want to restore it from that unfocused lenses, then you can do because of atmospheric effect. That's atmospheric effect that is generally related with the sensors, right? Sensors are not working or they are having impact from the atmosphere or atmosphere and their surroundings. Suppose my sensor is generating some voltages, but it is having high temperature in the surrounding, or it is the temperature noise we can say, or what we can say in the some electric signal nearby in my camera is generated because of some leakage or something like that. So that is also creating trouble. That we will call it as a noise. Okay. So, what is the case? See, what my camera sensor does, it generates actually electric voltages. We know that we have studied. It is going to generate electric voltages. Now, if any other electric signal is generated, maybe because of atmosphere. Now, what is atmosphere? We can say lightning. Suppose there is a lightning, and if it is affecting my camera, because again it is voltage. That lightning in the atmosphere is nothing but voltages. Okay, so it may affect my voltage signal generated by my sensor. Temperature, how the temperature matters. If it is higher temperature, you know that electrons are affected by temperature, drift will be more, and electron voltage is generated will be more or less, or some other IC or in my camera, or in other in my processing unit. If any other IC is there whose behavior semiconductor device is there, it is performance of those electrons is affected by the temperature of the device or the atmosphere. Okay, so here atmosphere and surrounding, both of them are creating extra signals which are affecting my generated actual voltages, and they are going to degrade the quality of my image. Okay, so noise we will call what? We will call the noise which is generated not by atmospheric effect but by some. Suppose I am having a faulty switch, and if I am turning on that faulty switch, what will happen? What faulty switch does? Voltage which if I will turn on my voltage sudden voltages are generated. If voltage switch is there, sudden sharp voltages are generated. So what will happen? That are also going to create the trouble in the voltages generated. So what is the ultimate point? That camera sensors generates voltage. Those voltages are affected by either the surroundings maybe by faulty switches, maybe by other ICs in the surrounding. Then also image is degraded, or it is affected by atmospheric effect like lightning or temperature. Then also they are going to get degraded. The voltages will get degraded. If it is generated by the surrounding, by human effect, we will call it noise, and if it is from the nature, we will call it as atmospheric turbulence. So, so in where image restoration is observed, see, it is observed in everywhere. Everywhere, maybe impact will be less or more, but image degradation happens everywhere. Whether be it a satellite image, or it is from medical image, or it is your regular photographs if you are capturing. It is available everywhere, right? So who creates the distortion? Distortion is created at your imaging system. Your camera outputs are not clear, right? Because of motion, because of atmospheric effect, whatever. But who creates the issue? The issue is created by your lenses, your camera, your imaging system. So now what is restoration? Restoration is to reconstruct or recover the image that has been degraded. Okay, how we can restore it? So for that, I need some prior information about the degradation, how it was degraded, right? Whatever method I am applying for motion, I cannot apply for focus. Okay, so I should know that what was the situation where the image was degraded. What in what model? What is the model for that? See, I will have a model for motion. Because of motion, this can be the impact. Okay, and I should to restore, I should undo this impact. Same way for the focus, I will have a focus degradation. I will have a model for focus degradation, and in that, what I will have, these are the reasons, these are the issues, and that's why these are the impacts. And how to undo that? For that, I will have restoration method. So first of all, I need to know that in which condition degradation happened, some information about it. Okay, and then I can restore my images. So now how to obtain? So we have to what undo. I have to apply inverse process. That is, I have to undo the impact or whatever I have modeled. However, I have modeled my degradation. That all the processes I will do in the inverse. I will do inverse process, or rather, I should reverse process. I will apply, and I will get that restoration. So this is possible. This you will learn how to obtain this. You will learn in fourth chapter. But this is possible. This is again what we can see is restoration. Earlier the image is this. You can see. Can you see here? Can you see this image is two images? One is this image, and plus one is that grid. This entire grid, right? We have to separate out those two. Okay, this will be possible. I will explain you, but exact methodology we will learn in the fourth chapter. So this is restoration. This is because of imaging system, and it can be restored to original. So now you will say, okay, we ultimately we are enhancing the quality. Ultimately, we will enhance the image quality so that we can use it. So what we are doing till time that the same task, na? But how it is different here? Why you are giving separate name to that? A very good question. Earlier, what we were doing was image enhancement, that is contrast staging, histogram, whatever, right? So it was image enhancement, and it is known as it was subjective process. I told you multiple times that it is subjective, right? Now we are doing restoration, does the same task of enhancement, right? But it is objective process. That means now I will have equations. If I will apply this equation logically, we will understand why it happens. Okay, but if I will apply those equations or those filters that we will design now, definitely it is going to solve the issue of that specific type. It will be objective that how much it is solved that you can easily identify, and dependency on subject will be lesser. I am not saying no subjective dependency, because image processing entirely is a subjective process, but still objective will come. I will be able to tell you, okay, whether the noise is present or not by having some statistic information. some parameters will be there which will define whether noise is there or not, whether it is original, it is enhanced quality or not. It will not be like you have to ask your friend and you have to see ask him that whether it is proper or not. It will not be human dependent evaluation. It will be parameter dependent evaluation, and that's why it is objective process. Some parameters we will get, okay, and that will define whether it is degraded or improved or not. So, as I told you, but what is requirement here? The requirement is we need prior information of how it was degraded. So, for then I will have a model of degradation. I will model it first. That if I will change my x coordinate like this, and if I will change my y coordinate like this, then this type of degradation will take place. Suppose I will have one image due to motion, image degradation due to motion. Then what I will do? I will model it that same degradation first. Someone will give me, okay, this is my image which is having motion effect. And so what I will do, first of all, I will model the degradation first. I will create a model which will degrade my image by the same degree that already I received that image, right? I will degrade first. I will learn that how it was degraded, what happened to my original image so that it became the degraded one. So I will model it first. So now I know how it was degraded. Then I will do same reverse process over there, so that I can recover my image. So that is very basic logic. If you want to recover something, right? We from recover from something, that you have to simulate it first, how exactly it happened, and then you will do reverse process of that. So that is what the concept of restoration. So again, what we will do here, my original image is there somewhere. My original image will be there. It is degraded by some function, that maybe because focus, maybe because motion, or maybe because atmospheric effect. Okay, actually we will take motion and focus here first. Then we know that it is noise is added, maybe because of atmospheric effect, maybe because of the surrounding effect. Some extra signal is added, maybe as I told you, the lightning effect, or surrounding ICs are giving us extra signal along with my original signal is generated. So it will also affect me. It will also affect. It's added. Noise is added to my degraded image. Whatever I will get is so I finally this is what I will have. This is finally what I will have. Now what I want? I want improved version of this. I want actually what I want is actually I want to get this back. What happened? What has happened to this? It is degraded by some amount, and it is noise is added to that, and hence it is having very low quality. And that low quality image is g of xy. It is degraded by some function h, and it is noise of eta xy is added to my f of xy, and hence my degraded image is this, or rather I should say low quality image is this. Now what I want to restore it. I will give it to restoration filter, and what my restoration filter is going to get, my restoration filter is going to get this f head of xy. Actually, I wanted f of xy, but you know that once the image is degraded, you can improve it, but you cannot get the original one. So maybe f head of xy in some cases will be equal to f of xy. In many cases, it will be nearby f of xy. So that is this is entire process. This is entire thing is known as degradation, where maybe noise is added and some function is applied like motion and focus, and all those functions are applied to my image. So finally, how to obtain g of xy? G of xy is obtained using this equation. What it is? My original f of xy and some function is applied over here. This is convolution. It is not multiplication. It is convolution. Convolution, you know that smoothing. If you remember for the smoothing, what was that convolution? What convolution was? What was the concept of convolution? That all that small window of all ones or 1/9 was kept on the first corner. Then in element-wise multiplication and addition was replaced at the center. Then I shifted to the next one. Again, element-wise multiplication of all the pixels and element-wise multiplication of all the pixels and what you can say, uh, then addition and replacement with the center pixel. So I will scan my entire image like that. That was the convolution process. In that that window of all 1/9. frequency window of 1 by 9 is represented as h here. So what is their point here? That this degradation function can be emulated by some window, some small sub window, some small filter. Suppose I say it was degraded by, see that focus. If focus is not there, if focus is not there, uh, uh, so how image looks like? Suppose original image, suppose if I'm missing the focus in my camera, what will be my image? How will my image look like? It will look blur, right? So you know that how that degradation function we can emulate. We can emulate that function using that blurring effect or smoothing effect, or by that window of 1 by 9. So if I'm using window of 1 by 9 or 1 by 5, that depends how much focus you have missed, right? So what is their point? That if by whether it is motion or whether it is focus missing or any other degradation function can be represented by a small filter, that small window that we have taken in chapter 3. In that way we can simulate any kind of degradation function, and then we will have the convolution with the original image. Actually you should feel like original image was that and it was convolved with some blurring impact and some noise was added, and whatever I will get is my degraded image. So now what I want is that I want to remove this impact of blurring. I want to remove this impact of this so that I can get f of x1. Okay, same way motion, for the motion I will have some different window, but there will be a window which I will if I will scan through my entire image, it will give me the impact of motion. So what I want is, if I want to remove that impact of motion, I want to undo that scanning of that sub window. That is what my ultimate goal is. That if you want to visualize that, you can visualize using the blurring effect. If I'm missing the focus, actually I'm getting the blurred image. So what you can think of that blurred image as, actually it was original good image, and it was multiplied with some blurring filter. It was convolved with some blurring filter, and hence I have obtained this. So that if I will remove the impact of that blurring filter, then I can easily get my original image. Same way for the noise. Noise is added to that. If I can identify how much noise was added, I can simply subtract it and I can get my original values there. Fine. So that is what the point is. So uh, now so the degraded function, definitely we will go to that point how that degradation will come. But another thing is that from where the noise comes, that already we have discussed, that the noise comes in the case of noise may be generated, noise may arise at the sensor itself. Why? Because of atmospheric effect, environmental conditions like light levels, or as I told you that in the lightning it can happen. Same way, quality of sensing elements, the surrounding of sensing element. If there is a temperature or any other change, then electron drift will occur, and hence electric signals will be generated, which can create trouble in your voltages generated for your image intensity. Okay, so that is the reason that are the principal sources of noise during image acquisition when you are acquiring the image. Environmental and surrounding sensors, uh, surrounding element of sensors are going to create the noise. Or once you have created, everything is fine with you, very good image you have, and you are transmitting over wireless medium, maybe using Bluetooth, maybe using Wi-Fi, maybe on the internet you are transmitting it. Possibly during the transmission, they are open. During the transmission, they are open open in the environment. So it is possible that while transmitting, some external disturbances come, maybe faulty switch, um, maybe atmospheric effect again, and um, they are going to create the troubles, right? They are going to create the disturbance. They are going to create the noise. Okay. Now, so noise may have two types of properties. There are spatial properties and frequency properties. Spatial properties are like in their statistic values, and it's their spatial. Actually, their real-time values, or what we can say as uh, they are actually your values of your noise, amount of your noise, how much noise is added, how many voltages are added, that numbers. That is known as spatial property of the noise. We can say what is the mean of the mean and variance of the noise is possible. That how with how what is the average value of the noise is added, how much value that we are getting added to our image. That actual values we are dealing with the values. And another is the frequency property. Now, frequency property is what that what is the frequency of the noise, right? Noise signal is also voltage signal only. It is also electric signal only, but it is unwanted. It is extra one than my requirement. So it will have its voltages. It will have its frequency. You know that any electric signal will have two attributes: voltages and frequencies. If I am going for the amplitudes, if I am going for the voltages, then it is spatial property. But if I am going for what is the frequency of my noise that is getting added to my original signal, then it is known as then it is known as frequency property of the noise. Now, you know that suppose two signals will get interfere with each other, or two signals will get the noise will get added to your original signal if they are having the same, they are working on the same frequency. Suppose my original signal or my original data is at low frequency and noise of high frequency is added, it is not going to harm my original signal. Suppose my original signal is with high frequency, low frequency noise is added, then it is not going to harm my signal. Why it is the case? Because my receivers are designed for the low and high frequency. Suppose my signal is low frequency, my signal's frequency is very low, okay, and if my high frequency noise is getting added to that, what will happen? My receivers are designed for receiving the frequency low frequency signals only, because I know that my frequency, my image or my original function is going to have the low frequency. Okay, so high frequency noise is not going to getting it will not get captured by my receivers. So it is not going to create the trouble. But suppose my noise frequency and my original signal frequency is same, then it will be received by my receiver and it is going to create the trouble. So that matters that my noise is present at which frequency. Okay, so now suppose my noise is present at all the frequencies. What is the meaning of that? It is going to create a trouble in any signal generated because it is available at all the frequencies. Okay, such noise is known as white noise. Why white noise? Because the presence of all is known as white. Presence of all colors is white, right? So the presence of all frequencies is known as white noise. That means in my noise, all the frequencies are present. That means whatever your frequency of your input signal is, my noise will get added to that. So such noise is known as white noise. Okay, so what we will assume is our image or noise will be of white noise and it will be available at all the frequencies. And hence it will create trouble for any of the input frequency. Okay, so now what are the models of that noise? Several models we are going to learn. In all the cases, in that all the cases we will assume our noise will be white with whatever the model we are using. So we'll get more details on this noise models in the next lecture. Any doubts so far? Any doubts so far? Okay, so we will learn about this model in the next lecture.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me and can you see the presentation? Okay, good. Uh, so, in today's lecture, we'll talk about inferencing in Bayesian network, and specifically, we'll talk about one example, two ideas, and a theory, a new theory towards which we want to move. So, idea one is quickly assume any number between 1 to 10 and put it in message box. I will write here and then we'll talk. So quickly any number. So one says 8. Okay. Eight, 5, 7, 9. Few more. Let's make it around 10, 20 numbers. So 8, 5, 7, 9, 4. Then 3. Okay. 2, 6, 1. Okay. 3, 3, 6, 2, 8. Couple of more. 2 more. 6, 1, 4, 8. Okay. Great. So these are the 10 numbers. And now let me tell you why did I ask you for this. So now let's say we are talking about a unbiased coin or a fair coin. And we all know the probability is attached with unbiased coin, right? What is probability of H for an unbiased coin? 1 by 2. And probability of tail is equal to also 1 by 2. So let me draw a stick of length 1. And let me cut it at 1 by 2. That is half length. Let me cut it at half length and call it 1 by 2. So now I will project this number to this stick. So what I'm saying is this region is of region of head. And this is region of tails. But let me multiply by 10, 5 also. We want to make it between 10, right? So let us call it 0, 5, and 10. Because I asked you for number between 0 to 10. So 5 is half distance of the stick. So I have cut the stick into two equal parts. 0 to 5 range of heads, and 5 to 10 is range of tails. And now I will project these numbers on this stick. So where does the 8 fall? 8 is somewhere here. 1, 2. So where is this 8? 8 is somewhere here. Right? 5 is exactly the midpoint of the stick from where we break it. So this is 5. 7 is somewhere here. 9 is somewhere here. 3 is here. 2 is here, 6 is here, 1 is here, and 4 is here, 8 is again here. So how many numbers fall between 5 to 10? So how many numbers falls between 5 to 10? 8, 7, 9, 6, and 8. Right? And how many numbers fall between 0 to 5? Let's call 5 also. Let's include 5 also. But that is our choice whether we want to include 5 in this class or other class, because it is a boundary point. But anyway, so 5, 3, 2, 1, and 4. So though a pretty trivial exercise, and you might be wondering that why am I doing all this? But do you see the magic here? Do you see anything peculiar in this little small exercise? I will be very happy if some of you have noticed what I'm trying to convey. Uh, Jamin Chauhan says half divisions. Half division of what? Numbers, right? So I randomly ask you to pick up 10 numbers between 0 to 10. And I hope or I believe that you didn't look at the previous number before giving your answer. So most of you produced the number completely randomly. But if we look at the distribution of these 10 numbers that you have randomly told me, then exactly 5 of them fall in between 0 to 5 in head class, and 5 of them fall in tail class. Right? So this is 5, total numbers 5, and this is also 5. So 5 of them in our heads class, 5 of them are in tails class. And now if I want to calculate the probability of head and tail from this number, it will also turn out to be, there are total 10 numbers that we talked about. Out of those 10, 5 were in heads. So now we have 10 observations. And out of these 10 observations, 5 observations are head and 5 observations are tail. So if I want to calculate probability from this observation, it again turns out to be 1 by 2, 1 by 2. Right? So, okay. Any questions on this? Does this make sense what I'm saying? So what we started with a known probability values. So these values were known to us. So the model or distribution is known.